Please, I know this sounds insane, but can you pretend to be my wife for 1 week? Stella Whitmore looked up from the bakery display case, certain she'd misheard. The man standing before her, impeccably dressed, exhausted eyes, holding a small girl's hand, looked desperate. I'm sorry, what? He glanced down at his daughter, whose birthday tiara sat crooked on her blonde curls. My name is Julian Carver. This is my daughter Rosie. She turns 6 tomorrow. And all she wants, all she's asked for, is for her mother to be at her party. Stella's hand stilled on the cupcake she'd been boxing. She saw it then, the grief poorly hidden behind her professional composure, the way the little girl's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Her mother passed away 2 years ago, Julian continued, his voice cracking. Rosie was so young, she barely remembers her. But lately, she's been asking questions, seeing other kids with their mothers. And yesterday, she told me her birthday wish was just to have a mom there, even for 1 day. Stella's chest tightened. At 32, she'd spent the last 8 years working double shifts at the bakery, living in a tiny apartment above the shop, pouring everything into a business that barely kept her afloat. Romance had always felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Mr. Carver, I'll pay you $50,000, he said quietly. 1 week. Just be there for her birthday party. Maybe a few dinners. She doesn't understand contracts or arrangements. She just needs to feel loved for a few days. Rosie looked up at Stella with eyes full of hope. Are you nice? Daddy said we need someone nice. Stella knelt down, her worn apron dusty with flour. I try to be, sweetheart. What's your favorite cupcake? Strawberry, with pink frosting. That's what Mummy's like, right? Something inside Stella broke and mended simultaneously. She thought of her own mother, gone 5 years now, who taught her that kindness wasn't about grand gestures, it was about showing up. She looked up at Julian. I don't want your money, but I'll do it, because no child should feel alone on their birthday. Julian's eyes glistened. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. The next morning, Stella arrived at an address that made her breath catch, a sprawling estate with manicured gardens. Julian answered the door in casual clothes that probably cost more than her monthly rent, but his smile was genuine. Stella, thank you for coming. Rosie's been talking about you nonstop. Inside, the house was beautiful, but cold, like a museum, not a home. Pictures of a striking woman were everywhere, frozen in time. That's Claire, Julian said softly. Rosie's mother. She died in a car accident when Rosie was 3. I've tried everything. Therapists, support groups, but grief doesn't follow a schedule. Rosie bounded down the stairs, wearing a princess dress. You came! Daddy said you might not be real. I'm very real. Now, should we bake your birthday cake together? The week unfolded in unexpected ways. Stella learned that Julian ran a tech company worth millions, but came home every night to read Rosie bedtime stories. That he canceled business trips and board meetings to be present. That his exhaustion came not from lack of trying, but from trying so hard he'd forgotten to breathe. I keep thinking I'm failing her, he confessed one evening after Rosie was asleep. They sat in the kitchen, Stella teaching him to decorate cupcakes. Everyone says time heals, but I just feel stuck. Stella's hand stilled. Julian, you're not stuck. You're surviving, and that's not the same as failing. I paused. After my mom died, I threw myself into work. The bakery became my escape, but I realized something. Grief doesn't ask us to move on. It asks us to move forward, with the love still intact. His eyes met hers. "How do you do that?" "One day at a time. And you don't do it alone." The birthday party was magical. Stella baked a 3-tiered strawberry cake, organized games, and stayed by Rosie's side through every moment. When Rosie introduced her to friends as my mommy for this week, Stella's heart ached with bittersweet joy. But it was that evening, after the guests left, when everything shifted. Rosie climbed into Stella's lap, her tiara now slightly bent. "Can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, sweetheart." "I know you're not my real mommy. Daddy explained pretend to me. But you feel real. The way you listen, the way you don't pretend not to be sad when I talk about my mommy in heaven. Everyone else gets weird and quiet, but you just stay." Stella's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Rosie." Rosie continued, "I think my mommy would like you, because you're teaching Daddy how to smile again. He forgot how after she left." Julian stood in the doorway, tears streaming down his face. He'd heard everything. That night, after Rosie was asleep, they sat on the back porch. "I don't know how to thank you," Julian said. "You gave her something money can't buy, genuine care. But you've also given me something I didn't know I needed." "What's that?" "Permission to live again, to feel again. I've been so afraid of dishonoring Claire's memory by moving forward that I've been standing still. Watching you this week, the way you honor grief without letting it consume you, it's shown me what healing actually looks like." Stella reached for his hand. "Healing doesn't mean forgetting, Julian. It means making room for new love while keeping the old love safe." The week ended, but neither one of them walked away. Stella started coming to dinners. Julian started visiting the bakery. Rosie called her Stella now, but the love remained the same. 3 months later, Julian appeared at the bakery with a business proposal, partnering to expand, not as charity, but because he believed in her vision. "You've taught me that wealth isn't measured in what you own, but in how fully you show up. Let me show up for you now." 6 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Stella and Julian stood in his kitchen, now their kitchen, making pancakes while Rosie drew pictures at the table. "You know what I wished for?" she asked suddenly. "On my birthday?" "What, sweetheart?" asked Stella. "I wished for someone who would stay. Not pretend stay, real stay. And you did, even when the week was over." Stella knelt beside her, Julian joining them. "That's because love doesn't have an expiration date, Rosie. When it's real, it just grows." Julian's arm wrapped around both of them. "You came into our lives as a stranger doing an act of kindness, but you stayed because you saw us, truly saw us, and chose to love us anyway." Stella looked at this beautiful, imperfect family they were building together. "I stayed because you both taught me something I'd forgotten, that the bravest thing we can do isn't protect our hearts, it's risk them for something real." As morning light filled the kitchen, Rosie held both their hands. "So we're a real family now? The realest kind, the kind built on truth and time and choosing each other every day. Because sometimes the greatest love stories don't start with romance. They start with one person asking for help and another person saying yes." If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.